Hello everybody, welcome back once again. I've got another Clair Obscur Expedition 33 video for you here. This time we are going to be talking about Lune's Act 2 weapons. Honestly, I don't really find much use for her Act 2 weapons, mostly because I really like the Krallen. But that said, let's do it. Let's talk about her. So first of all, the Benesim is the first. And I should say I'm going to be talking, of course, about these weapons in the order that you can obtain them. So let's start off here with the Benesim. This is obtained in the Forgotten Battlefield at level 8 from the Gestural Merchant Kasumi. It says here, and I should say, I don't like the scaling on this. Of course, it's Vitality and Defense, which I never build. Healing skills cost 1 less AP. That's great, though. You know, if you're using your Lune as more of a healer, obviously having cheaper heals is a good thing. Generate 1 Earth Stain at the beginning of each turn. That's cool, too. You know, extra stains is actually kind of why I like the Krallen so much. And actually the Bedalim. That said, I do appreciate that ability on there. And then it says replay instantly on consuming stains with the healing skill. Now, that's very, very good too, of course. Very, very obviously good for turn efficiency if you find yourself needing to heal. But also, though, if you don't have the Cheater Pictos or Lumina ability equipped, obviously, because you'll be getting those extra turns anyway, and so that the ability on this would be redundant. But that said, I think probably most people are not going to be getting a hold of that Cheater Pictos in Act 2 anyway, so can be a pretty good ability there. Next up is the Bedalim. Now, I actually really like this one too. It's very similar to the Krallen because of the level 4 ability there. It says, using a skill that consumes stains increases damage by 20% and can stack up to 5 times. Resets on using a skill without consuming stains. And I should say, actually, it's the level 4 ability and level 10. Actually, literally all of these abilities are the same now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, they are. So yeah, it's essentially the same weapon as the Crown. It's just got a little bit less attack power. Even like if it's maxed out, if both weapons are maxed out, Crown will actually have a slightly higher attack rating. But the Bedalim also does have the agility scaling, which I do like. So, anyways, the level 10 ability though here is what makes this weapon so good. And again, similar, or I would say the same thing about the Crown. It's that on turn start, if you have no stains, 2 random stains are generated. So that means that it's very, very easy for her to rotate between a couple of different skills and then use Elemental Genesis, which is her most damaging attack, certainly at least during Act 2. Again, every other turn, right? So let's just say you get, we'll start with like the worst scenario, right? Is you get 2 of the same stains, right? So let's just say she gets 2 Earth Stains. Well, the problem with 2 Earth Stains is there's no other combination that's going to get her to 4 separate stains other than using Elemental Trick, which that's fine as long as you've got a 100% crit rate, right? Because that'll get you 4 separate stains, and then of course the following turn you can use Elemental Genesis. Another scenario is if you've got, like, let's just say 1 Lightning Stain and 1 Ice Stain. Well, that means that you're probably going to be using a Wildfire, which the nice thing about that is you're going to be able to put some burn stacks on your enemy, assuming that they don't absorb fire. But then that's going to get you a Light Stain and a Fire Stain as well, and of course then the following turn you can use Elemental Genesis. So Bedalim and Krallen are just very, very good for turn efficiency and for Lune pumping out more damage. So really, really like this weapon. And then of course they're at level 20 plus 1 AP when stains are consumed. That's great, right? More AP is always a good thing. Next up is going to be the Snowim. I should say, let me back up. The Bedalim is actually available in the Gestural Village before you go to Monoko Station, but it does require the paint break. So that would mean that you'd have to find, I believe it's 4 of the Lost Gestrals and get the paint break ability, of course, from camp. But very easy to get a hold of that, obviously, before Minoko Station. All right, next up is the Snow Imp. Let's find this baby. Snow Imp, very, very strong weapon. Unfortunately, though, it does require you to defeat Gargant, and that is in Frozen Hearts. Gargant being the boss, unfortunately, of the area, so you'd have to go all the way through. I suppose maybe you could like kind of ninja your way through if you kind of wanted to do it in kind of a minimal way. But anyways, it is a very interesting weapon and very powerful. Again, it takes a ton of effort, though, to get this thing during Act 2, but it says freeze self when falling below 30% health, prevent the next, let me back up, of course, agility scaling, which I love. Freeze self when falling below 30% health, prevent the next instance of damage while frozen. That is pretty cool. It can be a little, it's a little interesting, right? Generally, though, I don't ever find myself falling below 30% health because I try to parry everything anyway. So I don't really get a whole lot of use out of that, but it is certainly interesting. And then, of course, it synergizes with the level 10 ability there that says on turn start, if frozen, remove freeze and recover 60% health. So let's just say, some enemy is using its last attack. You're not able to parry with Lune. She drops below the 30%. She becomes frozen. Next turn, when her turn starts, the frozen is removed and she recovers 60% health. So very interesting. And then, obviously, their last one is gain 2 ice stains and 3 AP when frozen. That's interesting, but it also can really mess up your skills. I like to use Elemental Genesis as often as I can, and so the 2 ice stains just isn't going to help me, right? I like the 3 AP, but I don't really like that ability because, again, it can just so easily screw up the stains that you've got and make it so that you can't use Elemental Genesis when you want it. So I don't really like that, but probably the best way to avoid that is to not fall below the 30% health. So anyways, that is the Snow Imp. All right, next up is the Red Limb. This is actually available in Old Lumiere, but after you've defeated Renoir. I've never even used this weapon, but again, mostly because I like the Kralum and the Bedalim so much, but it says healing skills generate 1 additional light stain. That actually is really cool. Obviously, light stains being one of the is the stain that's just so flexible, right? We can really do a lot of powered up abilities because of those light stains. And then also it says there generate 1 ice stain at the beginning of each turn. Again, that's nice, right? I do like getting extra stains. I just unfortunately think the Kralum is or the Bedalim are so much better because they generate 2. So, and of course, then this is always ice stain. I guess if there are certain skills that you like to use that will always either require or be powered up by the ice stains, then this might be a pretty nice weapon. It's just that's not how I played. So replay instantly on consuming stains with a healing skill. Another one of the similar to the one of the weapons that we had spoke about earlier there, with getting essentially an extra turn when using a healing stain. But of course, keep in mind that that isn't going to work if you use cheater. They're the cheater Pictos, right? They essentially don't stack. But also, I should say, agility scaling on this thing, so I do definitely like that. But I would say just kind of in general, I don't really love this weapon that much. Next up is the Sapperim. So this is located on the world map before you take on the Axons near, that's near Gestrel Beach 4. There's a Galt, Chapelier, and a Sapling battle, which I assume this is coming kind of from the Sapling. But it says using a gradient attack generates 1 additional light stain. I guess that's cool, but I basically never use gradient attacks with Lune anyway, so this wouldn't do me that much good. Also, luck scaling on this one, though, so I do like that. When a fire stain is generated, a lightning stain is also generated once per turn. Again, that's okay, but I don't know. I don't think that would be all that useful to me. You know, there's maybe specific skill combinations where that kind of makes sense, but again, as someone who wants to be pumping out Elemental Genesis, you know, basically every other turn, I don't think this is gonna really do me any good. So, anyways. Gradient attacks and gradient counters deal 50% more damage. I guess that's kind of cool. You're probably not really going to be taking this thing to level 20 anyway, though, during Act 2. So, and again, it's so, well, it's a lot more difficult for Lune to hit damage cap, though with a weapon that's leveled up enough, you can get there. So, you know, those... that extra damage isn't really going to do you that much good, but if you do like this weapon, you know, you can probably get a bit more out of it during Act 3. So that is the Saparim. Next up is the Elarim. Let's see this baby. Consuming an Earth Stain applies 1 shield to self. That is actually really, really cool. Of course, shields are a very, very good way to keep yourself safe in this game. And, you know, a weapon that's actually able to pump out shields on Lune as someone who makes a very, very good healer is very cool. And, of course, Earth Stains oftentimes, I should say, the healing skills in this game are oftentimes consuming Earth. Actually, let me just take a look here. Let's take a look at her skill tree. So Healing Light consumes, 2 Earth Stains, and that'll cost 0 AP. This looks like these are, Lightning on Rebirth, and then these are Fire. So I guess it's really only Healing Light that would consume those Earth Stains. Yeah, these are going to be all... Okay, so Thermal Transfer, if you manage to... consume 2 Earth Stains would do it. Yeah, I mean, there's some options here. Let's go back though. Elarim. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, of course, it's not just the healing skills though. I mean, there's plenty of abilities that are going to be consuming those Earth Stains. So I don't know why I was so fixated on the healing skills, but again, plenty of different abilities there to be consuming those Earth Stains with, but. Anyways, 20% increased earth damage with skills. You know, extra damage is a good thing. And I do actually, especially early on, I do like to use, I think it's Earth Rising a bit. Nope, it's not that one. It's been a while. Is it Rock Slide? Yeah, probably a Rock Slide. Because it can break, right? So I do like that. So here, getting a little bit more damage with that, not a bad thing. All right, let's go back into this again. And then base attack generates an Earth Stain. Again, as a weapon that, you know, you really want to be consuming those Earth Stains to get those shields on yourself. You know, getting an extra Earth Stain just by using a base attack is pretty cool. So, very interesting weapon. I would say that, you know, if you're not as good about good at parrying, or you find yourself taking a bit of damage here or there, this could be a very, very good option for you. Next up, though, is the Column. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back here. Elarim is, I didn't talk about where this was actually found at. That's the Sinister Cave. So that's available before you defeat the Axons, or basically right as you get to the Axon part of the game. But again, this is found inside the Sinister Cave. All right, next up is the Column. This is the world map. This is prior to the Axons. Again, kind of same time frame as when the Elarim is available. West of Visages. There is a battle with a Coral, a Steel Chevalier, and a Troubadour. So that is where you can find this thing at. 50% chance to get, I should say, agility scaling, which I like. 50% chance to generate a light stain when consuming stains. That's okay. Again, more light stains is a good thing because they're just so flexible. And then +1 AP on consuming a light stain, so that's pretty good too, right? Those abilities kind of work hand in hand. And then 20% increased damage with skills per active light stain. I guess that's cool too, but I don't know. It's tough for me to judge these weapons because I prefer the other ones so much. So there may be a use for this, but I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. Let's talk about the Scaverim. So Scaverim is available in the Falling Leaves area of the game, and of course that's before taking on the Axons. This one's kind of weird. I never really played around with this one, and again, don't want to sound like a broken record, but because I prefer the other weapons, specifically Kralin or Bedalim, so much more. But agility scaling, I like. 50% chance to generate a dark stain when consuming stains, and then deal 50% more damage with skills per active dark stain. Again, I think my issue with this specifically is because I like to use Elemental Genesis so much, you don't really want to be, having dark stains, really, but certainly not hanging onto them. So I just don't really find this to be that good because I think overall you're just not going to get the damage out of Lune that you would if you went with, again, Kralin or Bedalim. Base attacks can consume 1 dark stain to do 200% more damage. I could see that maybe being useful if you just don't have enough AP to use a skill, right? And you had one of those, dark stains left over. So I'll say that. That's at least one kind of neat thing about it. With 4 active dark stains, any skill can consume them to deal 300% more damage. I don't think that that's certainly going to be useful at all during Act 2. That's just such that's a huge damage increase, but again, there are just so many weapons that are so good during Act 2 that you're going to be able to hit your damage cap anyway, and so that extra 300% damage is not going to do you any good. So that's my stance on Scaverim. Don't really like it. Shepalim is next. So this is available on the Visages during the Jovial Moisenus battle. 30% increase, I should state, agility scaling, so again, like that. 30% increased break damage per Earth Stain. That's okay. To be honest, though, I wish that breaking enemies was more relevant in this game, but it's not like it is in, say, Final Fantasy 13, for instance, right, where that's the sole focus of battle in that game is getting things broken as quickly as you can and maintaining it, but that's just not the case here, right? Yeah, every once in a while you're able to break something, but and honestly, I would say, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, much more relevant for the mime battles, and I guess there's a few of them here or there, but anyways, increased break damage per Earth Stain is cool. Gain 9 AP on breaking an enemy, though. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really break enemies that often with Lune. Maybe earlier on in the game I do it a bit more, but Act 2, certainly, it's most likely going to be Mael for me breaking things, but I guess, if you're still rocking the one of the, I guess Mayhem will do it with Lune, and what was it earlier, Earth Rising or something like that, then okay, right, you get an extra 9 AP. So that is cool, but very, very situational, and honestly too situational for me to find that useful. Generate 1 Earth Stain at the beginning of each turn. Again, that's cool. I always like getting stains for free, but I don't think that this one would be all that useful for me. So, all right, next up is actually the Brasilim. So this is located within the monolith. This one it'll be start out at level 15, and that's from a Brasilar enemy in there. I do like the luck scaling on this, but I don't really like the weapon kind of in general. So it says 30% increased crit chance per ice stain. That's cool, you know, especially if you're, you know, rocking around a 70% chance. And then, of course, if you have an ice stain, you'll be at 100%. But that said, most of my characters, again, kind of hang out around the 75% crit rate anyway. And then, of course, I have critical burn on most of them during Act 2. So, you know, as long as I can get them lit on fire, we're at 100%. So probably not going to get a whole lot of use out of that level 4 ability. And then the level 10 is a 5% of a gradient charge on a critical hit. That's cool, but I'll be honest, I don't really use gradient attacks that much anyway, so I don't really find that ability to be that useful either. 20% increased fire damage with skills, though. That's pretty good. Again, though, issue that I have with that is, you know, probably by the time that you're getting this, Lune is going to be hitting fairly hard anyway, and so you're probably not going to be getting a whole lot of use out of that extra fire damage. That said, though, obviously once the damage cap is released or lifted in Act 3 via painted power, you could get a little bit more damage out of that. So again, credit where credit is due there. And then the last weapon that Lune gets in Act 2 is the Lithium. This is located in the monolith, and it's basically right after you defeat the Clair Obscur at the top of the monolith there. This is basically just sitting on a table. I like the element there, of course, that being void. There are no enemies that absorb the void element in the game. So, you know, unfortunately with Lune, she's, you know, got so many, I mean, almost all of her weapons are, you know, elemental in some way. And so every once in a while, you'll just run into something that's going to get absorbed. Of course, though, you know, that really is only an issue if you're using the base attack or free aim shots. But you know, again, it happens every once in a while. So I do really like the element on here, and of course the luck scaling I appreciate. It says 50% chance to generate a dark or light stain when consuming stains. Deal 50% more damage with skills per active dark stain. And then 1 AP on consuming a light stain. And then base attacks can consume 1 dark stain to deal 200% more damage. You know, again, I think the issues that I've got, this would be a very, very cool weapon had I, if I didn't like the Kralum and Bedalim so much for those random stains being generated. I think it may, I mean, I don't want to criticize too much, but I think that those two weapons, and specifically those two abilities, are just so good that they just so outclass all of the other weapons for her. Because again, it's just so easy to get to that elemental genesis because of those extra stains being generated, you know. So that's really my issue with the rest of the Act 2 weapons, and unfortunately, the Lithium is kind of in the same boat as the rest of them because of that. But again, I do like the void element. It definitely, you know, there's definitely some times where it's like, oh man, I just, you know, healed something because, you know, it absorbed an element because I needed a little bit of extra AP with Lune, so I was, you know, forced to use a basic attack. So I definitely, again, like the element here, but unfortunately, just so many of the other weapons outclass it. So anyways, that said, of the Act 2 weapons, Bedalim gets my my number 1 here, and only because the Kralum is actually technically found within Act 1. So again, this one's getting my top recommendation here for use. The rest of them just feel like they don't really matter. These are just, again, Bedalim, Kralum, way too good for Lune. So anyways, that is going to be it for this one. As always, I hope the guide was helpful, and thank you for watching.